Todd Gurley to the goal line. Touchdown! I think he thought about waiting and letting the clock run out.
Oh, I don't think there's any...
Sixth final play of the game. Stafford empty out of the gun. He's got it back. Looks, pumps once, steps up, looks, throws end zone.
Yes!
Carr! Touchdown, Detroit Lions! TJ Hawkinson!
Yes!
They did it! They've tied it! They're an extra point away from winning this game! Oh, baby, how big is that?
Yes,
How
that's huge.
big is that? Matthew Stafford magic.
And give the big fellas some love up front because they gave...
You are now listening to the Motown Sports Talk podcast. Here's your hosts, Jordan and Dalton.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today is Wednesday, October 28th.
It's Wednesday, my dude.
All right. And yeah, we have a lot to react to. First off, we want to give a congratulations to the Lions on getting their third win of the season.
3-3, baby. 500.
Yep, we're back to 500 for the first time this season. And as somebody also brought up on Twitter, they kind of brought up about how in Matt Patricia's tenure, we've been 3-3 in 2018, then 2-3-1 last year. And then at that point is where everything started going downhill. So let's just hope that this is not a repeat of those first 2 years, and this is actually a turning point on going on the up and up. So, yeah, let's get into it. Let's break down this huge victory. We unfortunately weren't able to react as quickly as we wanted to this huge victory, but boy, did we react when that catch happened. Oh, my God.
We should have been, I don't know if you guys follow the Lions on there, like any social media, that video of all the fans reacting. We should have had a camera on us reacting to it.
Yeah, we had no idea that ending was going to come down to. We should have ended up recording it somehow, but yeah, that was an epic ending. That was a crazy. I can't remember watching a Lions game that intense. Like the Bears game, I was right on the edge of my seat, and then that ended up in disappointment. But this time we were kind of on the other side. Yeah, so let's get into it. Let's get into the game and talk about how lucky we were to actually win that game. And my first observations were, the biggest things I took away from that game were I understand when we look back at the first half, I can't remember, I think it was in the second quarter, but when we went for it on fourth down, instead of taking the field goal and getting the extra points, we were trying to be aggressive and get that first down, which I understand we've been really aggressive this year in going for it on fourth downs, especially in the red zone and 10 yards or shorter towards the goal line. It seems like obviously you can't predict how the game's going to go, but if we would have had those 3 points on top of the other 3 points that Matt Prater missed in the second half, also that we would have already had those 6 points at the end of the game and been tied, and all we would have had to get was a field goal. So again, sorry, you can't control Matt Prater miss if he's going to miss, which normally he always makes those. That was under 50 yards. I think that was his first miss under 50 yards in at least a few years. I can't remember the last time I saw Matt Prater miss under 50 yards. So, but yeah, and then like I said, also you can't predict the end of the game, and you just try to be aggressive and go for it. And if we would have went for it and got that fourth down conversion, got that touchdown again, it would have been a completely different story. So
Atlanta went down after we didn't get the touchdown on that fourth down conversion, and Atlanta went down and scored. Mm-hmm. So they were having a great time, those long drives like that's, so say we went for it on fourth down and we got it, that's 7 points for us, and then maybe Atlanta doesn't go down and score, so minus 7 points for them. Exactly. Or we don't get it, we kick the field goal, that's 3 points, minus 7 points for them. Still, I mean, yes, you can't say that, oh yeah, they wouldn't have scored even if you would have not given them the ball that close to the goal line, but they were the best coming down from the long yards going to the get a touchdown. So maybe not going for it would have helped us a little bit, but it's football and you got to be aggressive.
Yeah, again, you can't predict the future, and we've seen with other teams and how effective going forward on fourth down has been for them. And again, we've been pretty successful this year. I'm not sure the exact stat line right now, but I know that we are pretty much over 50% on our fourth down conversions this year. So again, if we're going on the 50-50 chance and we're over 50, you got to go with them odds. But
it was a great play call too. The Atlanta just got around our offensive line. I was gonna say that we ran the guy around thinking that the linebacker would fall off following that guy. So it was a great call. It just didn't go as they planned, and if Stafford could have noticed it, Stafford probably would have changed it or something, but Stafford just didn't notice it. I don't know, but he was expecting the backer to go with the in motion guy, not trying to come around to get Peterson, which again, that's another thing. Atlanta was trying to be aggressive, and if we could have noticed that and hit that in motion wide receiver, scored a touchdown that way too.
But yeah, Atlanta just read that play too well. They knew what was. But obviously, the biggest play that everyone in the NFL world is talking about is Todd Gurley rushing into the end zone and falling into the end zone for giving us an opportunity to score, which a lot of people are blaming it on Todd Gurley. Some people are blaming it on the Falcons defense for giving up that amount of points and giving up that amount of yards in under a minute with no touchdowns left. So
I can't blame it on Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley made a mistake and scored, but it wasn't like it was his fault. He was just running. Our offensive line let him through, but then Will Harris was actually trying to make a play. And I watched the Matt Patricia interview yesterday, and they asked him about that, and he goes, "Yeah, there's some pointers on that to try to get some contact, so then your force continues taking you to the end zone instead of just you being able to slide or knee down."
Yep.
And that worked perfectly because it carried him into the end zone. He tried to stop, but the ball crossed the plane, and he scored. And Stafford just turned into 2011 Stafford. 64 seconds left on the clock, no timeouts. Throws the first pass to Kenny Galladay, incomplete pass. It's kind of looking like maybe we're not going to go down the field and score. Then he throws it to TJ. TJ doesn't get out of bounds, makes a rookie mistake or a second-year mistake. So, I mean, he's still young. He doesn't 100% know that. Then makes
according to the I believe it was the TV broadcasters, when he's at Iowa, they teach them tight ends purposely not to go out of bounds, to purposely stay in bounds and fight for more yards and everything like that. I don't know much about Iowa football, but apparently that's what they're taught, to try and just fight for more yards and not go out of bounds. So it's just in his head to not go out of bounds, and he's in the NFL, and you got to think, like you just said, it's a younger player's mistake that you got to think about situational football and know where you're at and what time you have on the clock and everything like that.
And then Stafford's beautiful pass to Danny Amendola in the middle of the field. And then if you watch that play against that throw to Kenny Galladay, Stafford doesn't even step into the throw. Stafford's just staying there in the pocket and just throws a perfect dot right to Kenny Galladay.
Oh yeah, it was a beautiful play.
He didn't step into it, nothing. He just stood there and just threw it. And that shows you right there that Stafford is back.
Mm-hmm.
I think Stafford, those first couple weeks was kind of him getting back to not having missed 10 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
So it was I think finally Stafford's back to himself. These past 2 games, Stafford has looked like the Stafford that we all love and know.
Yeah.
And
I've talked about it off air with you or off podcast with you that in the first few games, the first couple of weeks, it definitely looked like, in my opinion, I'm not a professional quarterback reader. I've never played quarterback or anything like that in my life. But to me, it looked like he was uncomfortable on the pocket. It looked like he was kind of afraid to get hit those first few weeks because, as Dalton just mentioned, that he was still getting adjusted. He's coming off a back injury. He hasn't actually gotten really hit in a real game because there was no preseason, no nothing. He hasn't gotten physically hit by a real defensive end in a long time. So those first few weeks, it just seemed like he was uneasy. He was really quick to scramble out of the pocket when he was any type of breakdown of pressure. But again, as you mentioned, these last 2 weeks against Jacksonville and Atlanta, he's looked very solid. His footwork is very solid. He's standing right there. He's not running. It seems like he's back to his old normal self, like you said, back to I think it was 2016 where he had 8 comebacks in the fourth quarter, and he's starting to look
2011.
No, I think it was 2006 or 2016.
Monday night game said it was the 2011 Lions. Or no, it was the 2011 Lions that had the most 13-point plus comeback
Yeah, it was. I believe
in
it was,
a single season.
I think it was 2006.
But it was 2000, yeah, because Golden Tate and Antonio Brown and stuff, yeah. So it was 2016, yeah. I hadn't, yeah.
And that was the year that we came back against Atlanta with the double kick or whatever with Prater and everything. So
Yeah.
So yeah, he's looking like 2006 Stafford again, where he's making
16.
Thank you, 2016 Stafford, where he's making all these comebacks and everything like that with a minute left. Sorry, they've talked about dagger time a lot this offseason, and it seems like that's finally coming into play. And see if we can continue that effect and keep that mentality to know the situational football and everything.
And then obviously on the last play, which I don't know if you guys noticed, but they did move the ball back.
Yep. And
Kenny Galladay caught it on the 8-yard line, and when Stafford hiked it, we were on the 11.
And the refs did come out and say that they misplaced it, that they did place it back further than it should have been. I don't know if that was the refs purposely trying to screw us or they just honestly made a mistake, but still, I feel like that's something I feel like that's a very, very fixable mistake. You just look at where he landed and go place it on that yard line. Also, there should be a line judge, who always does a right here, right there on where he caught it, but I don't know. Again, I'm not a line judge. I don't know how this shit works, but
yeah. And I mean, and also if you guys kind of had questions about, we came down, spiked the ball, and then they did a booth review on the Kenny Galladay catch, was just because the ref didn't want to call it, like, stop time and stuff to check the play in case Detroit wasn't able to get set up and get a spike off.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't get a spike off, there's no time left. There's no sense of even checking to see if that play counted because the game's over.
Yeah.
So that's why they waited till Stafford spiked the ball, then did the play.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it was caught and they had time and everything. And that's why once the replay was done, the clock continued to run and Stafford had to spike it again.
Yeah. So again, a few observations we can make from the end of the game is, as you mentioned with that play, that whole Todd Gurley scoring play, for anyone who is a fan of the Pat McAfee show, I refer back to that show a lot because you get a lot of good, solid, straight information from players, from NFL insiders that report to him a lot. So I refer back to him a lot. But also, there is an incentive in Todd Gurley's contract that I think I might be wrong on this, but I believe it's if he gets 13 touchdowns this year, he gets an extra $500,000. That's an extra $500,000. So was that running through his head when you're playing for a 1-4, possibly about to be 1-5, even if you're 2-4 team? Would you care more about getting the money for yourself, or do you care about winning situational football? Because when we've seen this video going on all around online, remember when the Rams played us 2 years ago and he purposely ran out? It was running straight towards the end, had a wide open run, and then cut over and slid down still. So he knows to get down. He knows situational football.
And again, it was a different there because they weren't as close as the Falcons were to the end zone, and he didn't get let through and then have contact to where, like I said, his momentum, he had to get through that tackler, so his momentum was still dragging him forward, to where in 2018, they were farther back. There was no safety coming straight at him. He was able to do that little run and slow down his momentum and stop and stuff. So I can't say it's on Todd Gurley. I'm just saying, if I'm an Atlanta fan, your defense cannot let a team go down with 64 seconds left and score.
Yeah. Like I said, that last drive, Stafford talked about dagger time. Our offensive line is looking good again. There was some pressures on Stafford. There was some times where we had to scramble out of the pocket in that last one, especially on the very last touchdown, which, again, that was great instinctive by Stafford, where he saw the defensive lineman. He went to throw, and he saw the defensive lineman coming up, so he kept the ball, jolted over. T.J. Hawkinson made the adjustment, and he threw it over to him, and all's well as all well.
T.J. Hawkinson made up for him not getting out of bounds. He 100% made up for that.
He
because
totally redeemed himself.
In situations like that, You literally have like the first 5 yards is a route, and then it's once you get in the end zone, you just sit there and run around until you find an opening for Stafford to get it to you. So TJ Hawkinson read that Stafford was getting out of the pocket and knew to go that way to where there was a gap. Stafford could hit TJ Hawkinson. Hawkinson caught it as he was going down, so then that also avoids him getting hit, causing him to drop it. So it was a great play from Stafford, for one, getting out of the pocket and extending it. And it was a great play by Hawkinson to get into the open zone and catch the ball and go down with it so he doesn't get hit.
Yeah. And yeah, just one more quick thing before we move on is the whole, like you were just mentioning, about being able to scramble and get open in the end zone. You have to think there's probably at least 3, possibly 4 people scrambling all around in that end zone trying to get open. So you have to either take your defender off your person without running into your own player and running them. So it again, we don't really see it because the camera angles they always give us. So unless you have like the NFL replay or something like that,
or you're at the game, yeah.
Unless you're at the game or something, it's hard to see those type of angles, and it's hard to see how hard it is to get open when you're in the end zone, or when your quarterback's scrambling and you're trying to scramble and get open. And again, I think there's 10 yards of space in the end zone that you have to work with, and you're trying to run in there. So again, just being able
without going out of bounds.
Yeah, all that and coming back in. So again, that itself right there is a very talented thing to do itself. So yeah, so moving on, talking about the other big headline coming out of that game, Kenny Galladay. He put
needs to be paid.
Yes. Kenny Galladay had a huge performance. He caught every single ball that was thrown to him. They were all hugely contested. They were not easy balls to catch that were thrown to him. He was by far the MVP of the game. Yes, Stafford made some amazing throws, and he did it. But if it was not for Kenny Galladay making those catches in those tough situations, every single catch that he made was in a clutch situation. I think every single catch he made was either third down or it was a long play for a long first down.
They were all contested too.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. They were all contested catches. Like they were not just easy throws, easy catches to him. He had to work for those catches. He deserves to be paid. And before the season started, I knew Kenny Galladay was amazing, and I knew he was a diamond in the rough in the third round that we got. Like, it's amazing that we got someone that good in the third round. But I still didn't think he was, earning. I didn't think he deserved $20 million a year is what some of the top wide receivers are getting paid. But after that game, and again moving on forward down the season, I think he deserves every penny he is owed. He played a huge role in that win. Again, we weren't even supposed to win that, thanks to Todd Gurley or the defense or whoever you want to give credit to on that. But still, he is going to be a huge role on this team going forward for the rest of this season, depending on whether he stays or not. But I think he deserves $20 million, maybe $21 million a year for the next 3 to 4 years if he can keep producing the way he is throughout this season.
Oh yeah, he needs to be paid. We need to start the hashtag pay Kenny G. That needs to be the number one headline or hashtag for the Detroit Lions. Like every post you make about the Detroit Lions needs to say hashtag pay Kenny G.
Yes, let's get.
We need that because he needs to be paid. If we do not pay him, he is going to go to another team and be a superstar for them and make us pay for letting him walk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but you do not just let a talent like that just walk.
And that's what I'm saying. He is already a superstar. He is already showing that he is one of the top.
The Lions need to run the ball with Swift more. I understand we have Adrian Peterson, and Adrian Peterson has done good, but Swift needs more carries.
Yes, I agree with you, but we've talked about this off air, and I'm not saying we should keep feeding Adrian Peterson. We should definitely start feeding DeAndre Swift. He needs to get more carries as it is, because after you saw what he did in that Jacksonville game and how huge he exploded, he definitely deserves more opportunities. But on the other hand, I kind of think that Detroit is playing the long game with Swift, and yeah, if we do just go and blow a bunch of games, I'm sure DeAndre Swift will end up being the starter. But I think they're just trying to play the long game and break it up to that way. We're not super predictable on offense, and if we bring in this person, then automatically we're running it or this and that. Which, excuse me, that's another thing. Swift is extremely versatile. We've lined him up out in the slot. We've put him everywhere. We've put him in the backfield. So that's another thing of kind of disguising the defense. But I just think they're trying to keep the younger legs fresh. They're kind of trying to keep DeAndre and Kerryon ready for the later in the season, because you want Adrian Peterson's been there. He's done that. And we're just kind of using him up for plays, trying to keep the clock moving and everything like that. And then we can save DeAndre Swift for later in the season if we do make a playoff run, because you do see how quickly running backs get wore out and how quickly they get used and stuff like that. So I think we're just trying to keep him for the longer run and push him down later in the year is what I think we're doing. But I definitely agree that he needs
Swift. Yeah, he needs more carries. He is amazing, and he's going to be a good running back in the future.
Oh yeah, I was so excited. I think I talked about it in the last episode with you, that I was so excited when we first got him, and after watching what he did against Jacksonville,
I love how he got drafted, and then immediately the next day, him and Stafford were working out together.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know if that was just because Stafford was already in Georgia, and so was Swift, so that might have just been a coincidental type thing. But yes, I do think it's awesome that even though with no OTAs, no training camp, no preseason like that, they were still working in the off seasons together and getting in reps and everything. So Stafford already kind of has a little bit of a repertoire with DeAndre Swift than he would.
And I love how he does not lack confidence. Every time he is
week one.
Every time he is out on the field, he has as much confidence as anyone out there. He knows he is good, and he knows he's going to make a play when he gets the chance. And I just love seeing that out of a rookie running back that knows once he gets the ball, he's going to make something happen.
Exactly. And like I said, especially after that week one, everyone thought his confidence was shot after he dropped that game-winning catch, which, speaking of which, I hate to remind people, but we are one DeAndre Swift dropped catch away from being 4-2 right now. But this season could look completely different right now if he had made that catch. But that's a totally different conversation. But yes, he is, like you just said, he doesn't lack confidence. After a lot of fans were probably shitting on him, sending him a lot of hate mail on Instagram, Twitter, all that shit. But he's lived up to it. He's moved on and he's progressed. And I think that, again, he's going to be an amazing running back in this league, and hopefully for the Lions for a long time. So yeah, we'll move on. And Bob Quinn finally went out and he made a deal yesterday that the Lions went out and traded for former Vikings and Dallas Cowboys defensive end Everson Griffen, who a lot of Lions fans wanted us to sign in the offseason. He went a very, very long time without being signed. And now the Dallas Cowboys are all of a sudden trading him out, which I don't know. I'm not mad at the Lions. I do think this is a good trade. I think it's Bob Quinn being aggressive and trying to actually improve our defense, which
instead of selling, yes, he's actually buying. So there might look to be.
But yes, like you just said, it's better to be buyers at the deadline than sellers, because normally when you're sellers, it looks like you were imploding or just trying to sell away your assets and tank for the season.
Future,
yeah, move on for the future and stuff like that. But when it's better to be buyers, because it looks like we're trying to be aggressive and try to win games for the rest of the season is what it looks like. But my biggest concern is Everson Griffin went so long without being signed in the offseason. Why? There's got to be a reason for that. The Dallas Cowboys are trying to get rid of him. There's got to be a reason for that. I understand the Dallas Cowboys are terrible. They might just be trying to clear house and make room, get as many draft assets as they can so they can start building for the future, because, again, we have no idea what's happening with them, with their quarterback, with their head coach, with anything. The only thing we know is that Zeke Elliott's going to be there for the next 3 to 4 years unless they end up trading his contract out of there. But either way, it's just, so unless they're clearing house or just trying to get rid of everything, it just looks really suspicious.
Or, like you brought up to me, is the Cowboys are eating $6 million of his contract?
No, his contract is $6 million. They're eating half of it, so they're eating $3 million. We're only taking half, so we're only paying him $3 million.
So maybe they did want to sign him in the offseason, but he wanted that $6 million. Dallas is like, hey, we want to get rid of him. Give us a 6th-round pick for him, and we'll even take $3 million of his cap to where you guys are only paying him $3 million. And Bob Quinn was like, hey, I like that. $3 million, like, for the rest of the season come in and be an immediate impact. Obviously, he won't be playing in next week's game against the Colts, but as long as everything goes good, he should be good to go for the Minnesota Vikings game.
Yes, which that kind of helps us on two ends. One, because obviously he knows the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, probably not. It's been what, 2? This is his first year.
This is his first year. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was there last year. So yeah, he's familiar with their scheme and what they're trying to do and everything like that. So he can help us obviously on that front. And then also, as you and me discussed off air a little bit, that it's going to be good to take pressure off of both Trey Flowers and Romeo Okwara, who that's kind of why, like, I'm not taking anything away from Romeo Okwara. He has had an amazing year, and he got an extension with us, I think it was a year or two ago, because he had an amazing year. I think we claimed Romeo Okwara off waivers back in 2018 from the New York Giants, as you just mentioned, and he performed amazing for us that first year. So you think he led our team in sacks, as you just mentioned. So we signed him to, I think, a 2 or 3 year extension. And now, again, last year was kind of I wouldn't say a down year. He was still good, just not as effective as we wanted.
Our whole team didn't have a pass rush last year, exactly. So no one on our D-line did good.
Exactly. Trey Flowers, it took him a little while to get back to his normal self, but now that Trey Flowers is playing like a normal self, he's usually almost doubled on every single play, so he doesn't even have a chance to get to the quarterback. And so Romeo Okwara has been our only effective pass rusher, has been able to get any type of sacks or any quarterback pressures this year. So just having another player that, again, we can maybe line Romeo Okwara up in maybe a linebacker position, an outside linebacker position, put Griffin and Flowers on the edge, and just
having that extra lineman just to rush. Like, honestly, we could throw, like, if we need to get, like, we really need to get pressure on, like, a third down, throw Trey Flowers, Everson Griffin, and Romeo Okwara all in at once. Like,
exactly. And as you mentioned earlier in this show, we've shown that we've been a lot more aggressive on defense than Matt Patricia or Corey Underlin. I don't know who's making the play calling exactly, but they have been dialing it up on defense. They've been throwing, 5, sometimes 6 people on pressures. They've been just bringing a lot more people.
And they've been switching it up from man to zone. Like, we haven't just been running all man. Like, they've been doing amazing by switching it up, disguising, mixing the play calls,
exactly,
bringing pressure. Our run defense has been really good.
It's obviously he's not going to come in and be a starter. He's not going to play. He's only played 56% of the snaps for the Dallas Cowboys so far this season. So it's not like he's going to come in and be a huge starter. He's not going to have he might have a huge role, but I don't think he's going to play 75 to 80, 90% of the snaps on defense. He's just going to be one of those rotational players who we throw in, like you said, on blitz packages or just any other type of pressure or something like that.
Or when Trey Flowers or Romeo Okwara are just tired and need a break.
Exactly. That's another rotational player to swap in and out, or again, just be a situational type player who can be effective, who, again, he has, I think, 2.5 sacks and 6 quarterback hits this year. So it's not like he hasn't been effective in Dallas, but, I mean, Dallas's defense has been absolutely atrocious this year. So you can't really attribute that to him. Obviously, there's 10 other people on defense with him, and he's only, again, like I just mentioned, only 56% of snaps. So,
but he should come into Detroit and be an immediate help for us. Because, I mean, 2 sacks in 50% of defensive snaps is pretty good. Like, he obviously still is good enough to do that. So if he gets an expanded role or even gets the same amount of role here, that 2 sacks and 56% of our snaps in 6 weeks, 7 weeks, I'll take that every year. Like,
yeah, I mean, he has played mostly NFC East teams, so you could attribute that. But again, I'm not saying anything. We'll just have to wait till, like you said, he's not going to be able to play against the Colts this week, but he's going to be playing against one of his former teams. So, and that maybe could bring up a little bit of bitterness, when
like you guys didn't want to re-sign me. All right, well, let me show you what you guys missed out on.
Exactly, and we all know that Kirk Cousins has not been the greatest this year. But again, that's following week. So again, is there anything else you wanted to mention on Everson Griffin or?
So far, I'm happy with the trade. I feel like it's a win-win trade no matter what, because it's not like we gave up like a high draft pick or anything for him. So if it doesn't really work, all we gave up was a conditional 6th-round pick.
And again, it's like as we mentioned earlier, it's better to be more buyers at the deadline than sellers because what was it last year that we traded Darius Slay away for a 5th-round
In the
pick?
off season, but yeah.
Quandre Diggs, what did we trade him for?
I believe like a 5th and a 6th or a 6th.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was nothing.
So we trade away Quandre Diggs last year at the offseason at the trade deadline for a 4th or 5th round 6 pick. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a lower round pick. And I remember when we traded Quandre Diggs, I was like, "What the are we doing?" Like it did not make any sense.
I brought it up in last podcast that after we traded him, we didn't really have anyone on our team that was a hard hitter that would hit you hard enough. Like
exactly, it just seemed like he's still a really good player. He's still doing good for the Seahawks as it is. So it's like it's just sad to see us trade away such a great player. And it looks like when you trade away a player like that who is a captain on your defense, who is a leader in the locker room, it just looks like you are trading away and tanking for the season. So the fact that we're even just bringing someone in, and a lot of players are still hoping that we can bring in Quinnen Williams from the Jets. And I don't know if you saw, but on Twitter, there's been recent speculation that the Patriots might be trying to trade away Stephon Gilmore, who was Defensive Player of the Year last year. So people are saying that Patricia might be trying to bring him in.
I don't see that because we're gonna have to give up a lot for him, and
especially when
Quinn. I was gonna say Bob Quinn loves his draft picks too much. He's not gonna give away a lot of assets for.
When you take a cornerback at 3rd overall in the draft, it's not like you're going to give up a lot of assets to trade for another top cornerback.
Well, and I mean, Jeff Okudah and Oruwariye have done pretty good. Like I told you, or like we've talked about in previous podcasts, Okudah's a rookie, so he's got tons of development still to go. And Oruwariye is a 2nd year, so he still has development to go too.
And people just forget about Desmond Trufant, who we signed in the offseason,
has been injured.
Yes, he's been injured, but just give him time to be healthy. And I think that's kind of why they've also been maybe, like, okay, it's okay if you're not fully healthy, take this week off, because we have seen in the past where Darius Slay has been hamstring problems and he has been questionable all week, but he still plays. But now it seems that they're letting some of the younger guys play, Okudah, Oruwariye, and we saw Justin Coleman back this week, I feel like that was another big improvement. I know we didn't stop a lot of the big plays on defense, but I feel like but yes, that's what I'm saying. Having Coleman back, and then again, if we can get Trufant back at full health, I think our cornerback position is pretty
because with how Oruwariye and Okudah have been playing, now you can sit there and like say, oh, Desmond Trufant's the starter. Oh, you can tell he's kind of winded out there. Like, oh, come out. Okudah or Oruwariye, go in and replace him. And then
exactly. It's not
you
like
can
a
rotate.
off.
Yeah, you can rotate and like I said, Okudah and Oruwariye still need development time, but just you need to play to get development. Exactly. So just the more they play, the more development. And also, I will say, Jeff Okudah has been playing some of the best wide receivers in the league. Veteran wide receivers that obviously you're being a rookie trying to cover them, they're going to make you look silly.
Yeah,
just because they have been in the league for years, so they know what to do, and you're first year. So they're going to make you look silly just because you're a rookie and you don't know what you're doing. So I'm impressed by Okudah. Yes, so far he has not looked like a 3rd round pick or 3rd overall pick. I understand that. Yes, he hasn't. But give him time. Do not judge him so far. As us Lions fans, you guys probably all like him. Like, he's a good player. He still has development. He needs time to develop. He will get there. And I do think it was worth a 3rd round pick in the future. We just need to wait and see. And I think Oruwariye is going to be a good 5th round pick, I believe. He was.
Yeah, 4th or 5th round pick, somewhere around there. And yeah, I believe he was 5th round pick actually, and he was projected as a 2nd round pick all the way up
Yep.
until the year before, or up until that point. He was projected early and then ended up dropping to us in the 5th round, which was a huge surprise. And he has ended up turning into the player that we.
I was gonna say he actually has been like a really good steal for us, and I will 100% take it. And once Trufant comes back, I am gonna love our corners with Trufant, Awarie, Akuda, and Justin Coleman in the slot, with McRoy, Mike Ford too. I think he was playing this week. Like, we have some good corners, and like I said, just the more that we have that are capable of going out there and playing, the better it's going to be, because then you can switch out and rotate them and keep the fresh people out there till they're winded, and then switch them. So like you can, and then you can do like personnel groups too. Like if you're versing a team and they have a bunch of like fast wide receivers, you want your fastest guys out there, so you take Trufant out and put in a Warrior and Nakuda, or they got a bigger guy, and like you want like, so yeah. It's gonna be good. I'm really excited to see this team going forward. Once everyone like is healthy and stuff, I'm really excited to see this team, and especially with the Everson Griffin, I'm really excited to see this team.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I've said it before, it's better to get hot later in the season than it is early in the season. And I've mentioned it, I think I mentioned it to you off air, that it was the 20, was it, what year was it? 2017 Patriots? All right. So, yeah, coming up this week, we have the Indianapolis Colts, which might be our toughest team since the bye week. They are, I think,
4-2.
Yep, they're 4-2 right now. But again, I think most of that contributes to their defense. Their defense is ranked in the top of the league right now. I can't pull up exactly what their stats are right now, but I know they're both their passing and defense. Their passing and running defense are both ranked in like the top 5, top 10 in the league. So they are doing really, really good on defense, and that is kind of what is leading to these victories. Because when you look at their offense, again, it's not that great. Phillip Rivers only has 7 touchdowns to his 6 interceptions.
Jonathan Taylor has been a pretty good rookie running back, but he again has only scored 3 touchdowns, no receiving touchdowns.
Yeah, it's just, and a lot of people thought Phillip Rivers would kind of be the successor to Andrew Luck and Jacoby Brissett after Andrew Luck surprisingly retired last year. And
in the preseason game.
Yep, so they've kind of been searching for that. Jacoby Brissett was okay, but obviously he's still the backup there, so they did not trust him to be the starter going forward. So they brought in Phillip Rivers, and he had struggles his last year in LA, not San Diego. He had his last year in LA. He was having problems, and he's kind of continued those same problems here in Indianapolis. So,
but I mean, shoot, look at Chicago. If you got a defense, you don't really your offense does not matter, dude.
We've said it for years. Defense wins games in the NFL. It doesn't matter if you have the most highest scoring offense in the NFL. If your defense can't stop the other team from scoring, then
it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But if you got a good defense, you could have one of the worst offenses in the NFL, but your defense is top best in the NFL, or top 5 at least. You can win games easily.
Exactly. Now, we do know that they are out a few people, so we'll see how the injury report goes. But, again, this is probably going to be the toughest opponent that we've faced this year since the bye week at least, because we faced the Packers and the Saints earlier this year, who were pretty tough. The Bears...
Great defense.
Exactly. And I was talking with somebody earlier today, and it's like, how long before some of those players on defense want out of Chicago? Like Khalil Mack wanted out of the Raiders. Let's just say the Raiders, because they were Oakland at the time, but either way, he wanted out of the Raiders organization, and now he's with the Bears, who are they in like the same situation? Like, yeah, it's like our defense is great, but if we have to be relied upon every time, we can't rely on our offense to put up points. It's like, do I really want to be here? Am I this top player? Do I want to stay here? So how long before Khalil Mack starts requesting a trade or stuff like that, and their whole team. Which again, I don't know if you heard, but there were some reports that Nick Foles would get calls from Matt Nagy, and he knew that his offense, or he wouldn't be able to have time against whatever defense he was playing to perform that play, so he would change the play in the huddle and blah. And I don't know. There's been a lot of rumors.
Chicago might be going downhill.
Yes, it looks like there's been a lot of turmoil going on in Chicago right now because Matt Nagy came out and said, "I never heard that from Nick. I never heard that from Nick Foles," and he said that in an interview, and it's just all going downhill. I'm hoping in Chicago. It's been looking like a train wreck in Chicago for a long time, basically ever since Trubisky got there. Yeah, they made the playoffs 2 years ago, I think it was. And again, like you said, that was because of their defense and blah, blah, blah. It was definitely not because of their offense. But Chicago just looks like a train wreck from the start since they hired Matt Nagy, since they brought in Mitchell Trubisky, who they thought Matt Nagy was going to be the
savior.
Yep, the quarterback whisperer, the offensive guru, because he worked under Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes and all that stuff. So they thought he was going to be the offensive guru and save their team, but he unfortunately has not. So this has kind of gotten off ramble about a shit talk about the Bears, so I guess we should stop talking about that. But yeah, so we got the Colts this week. It's going to be a tough matchup. We are at home. I still don't think we're allowing fans.
I don't know, but crazy and weird fact is we're 3-1 on the road and 0-2 at home.
Let's hope we can break that curse, and we hope we can finally get a fucking win at home. Again, I think with no fans at homes, it doesn't even feel like a home game to...
I was going to say, I feel like we have more fans at Jacksonville and Atlanta than, like, Jacksonville and Atlanta had their own fans. Like, I feel like we had more fans in the stands than they did. So
yeah, if you listen to that call, as soon as Hawkinson caught that ball at the end, it sounded like a home game when the way the crowd erupted like that. Like, it's just crazy. Yeah, so I don't even think being a home game for the Lions makes any difference with no fans in the stands. But I'm not a player. I don't know. Maybe being home has a difference. But
maybe they will start allowing fans, because I know, like, what's in Michigan and, like, stuff like that, allowing fans in the big house. Like, obviously not a lot, but I'm pretty sure I saw fans
I haven't been keeping up on it. Again, I don't know. Maybe there will be fans allowed at this. This is the first game at the Lions Stadium in over 3 weeks, and I know some laws have changed in Michigan regarding the mask and this and that. I honestly don't keep up with it, so maybe there will be fans, just a few fans at this game. I hope, because I feel like that's going to make a big difference. But still, yeah. So we're playing the Colts at home. This is going to be one of the toughest games. T.Y. Hilton still playing, I believe, so he's probably going to be a good.
Win or loss?
Off the top of my head, I say win. I'm predicting
Same.
a win. We're
Me
riding
too.
off a 2-game win momentum. Our team is looking good. Our defense is looking good. Our offense is playing.
Honestly,
right now.
I'm not like I think our offense is good, so I'm not scared of versing a team with a good defense. And their offense isn't the best, so I think our defense can stop them.
Yeah, if we can get turnovers and if we can stop Phillip Rivers and Jonathan Taylor, who, like you said, he hasn't been great, but Jonathan Taylor has been good this year. If we can stop the run and we can get either an interception or a couple of turnovers on the Colts, I think it might be a good game in our favor. And honestly, after that, if we can get that 3-game winning streak going, I think we might be on a streak, boys. And immediately following the Colts, we have the Vikings.
Yep.
We have the Vikings, the Redskins, the Panthers, the Texans, and the Bears for the next 5 games.
Washington football team.
You're right. The Washington football team, my bad. But that is our next 5 games. And again,
all winnable.
If we can beat the Colts and get a 3, again, I honestly think that's 5. Was that 7? Yeah, I think we can go on a 7-game win streak there, boys. I think we can get this going, because like you said, following that, after the Bears, we have Green Bay, the Titans, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is a tough 3-game stretch to end the season. But then we have the Vikings, last game of the season. So the Vikings still have a long season. They might turn around and get good. They might change quarterbacks. I don't know. But yeah, if we could win those next 7,
if they haven't changed quarterbacks so far, obviously their backup quarterback's nothing better than Kirk Cousins.
Well,
so they ain't changed.
They're paying him too much money to bench him. So yeah, I'm just saying, if we can knock out if we can beat the Colts this week, I feel like those next 5 games following the Colts are going to be a breeze.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so we'll just have to see what our team can look like after that, and we'll have to go from there. So what do you think? Win or lose this week?
I said win.
All
Like
right.
I said, I think our offense can stay going against our defense, and all our defense needs to do is get 1 or 2 stops, and I think we'll be golden.
All right, so we both predicted a win against the Colts. Let's hope that's how it turns out this week. We got a pretty interesting week, but let's see how it goes. All right, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time.